What screams, "I am upper class"? A wealthy couple I know has twin Steinway concert grand pianos in their ballroom-sized living room. Neither of them plays a note on these elegant pianos that are worth about $185,000 each, Steinway model D 9 feet. So they hire me to play for special occasions. In the interim, the two grands just sit there as part of the room's decor. Being enormously more concerned about how long something will take to get done, rather than how much it will cost. Edit, when the dollar amounts in question are very large. Signing up for Amazon Prime doesn't make you part of the 1%. Far from truly wealthy, but I hit a new level of middle class when I decided there was almost no normal price difference that would be worth tacking on a layover vs a direct flight. Adding on hours of extra flying and airport downtime into a trip is so not worth it for me anymore. I'm getting there with red-eye flights too. There is a point where your time is more valuable than your money. And we kinda do little versions of that in our day-to-day lives. For example, you could either cook dinner tonight and that might take you an hour. Or you could purchase food for $10 and have something to eat in 15 minutes. You would therefore be deciding that those 45 minutes were more important than that $10. The wealthy start extending that to every inconvenience, such as buying groceries, planning their own trips, cleaning their own home, driving around, etc., as they'd rather pay $100 plus per hour. It's very weird balancing home and work in this regard. When it's my money I'm spending, I'm apparently fine with wasting a ton of time to save practically nothing. When work is paying, they would much rather spend money than waste engineer time. I think what it comes down to is that I wouldn't pay nearly as much for my time as my employer would. I once kicked it with a super rich dude for a few days and it was amazing. I'm talking damn near billionaire rich. Average people don't think about it. But imagine if you were free of all stress regarding work, bills, rent, car maintenance and etc. This dude was the epitome of carefree. That's what really impressed me about the guy. Every option is always on the table. Anything is possible at any time. You want some steak and lobster? Let me call my assistant. It's 3 a.m. and you want a tattoo? I'll call the concierge. I have a summer home in Aspen, CO. You want to go hang out there for a while? Get some skiing in? Or do you want to go to my winter home in Aruba? We can go snorkeling. Going through life with no worries about going to work the next day. Seriously. It must be so fantastically liberating. After 4 days I had to go back to my workaday life. And it was just as hard as coming down off a serious drug. Yes. But not for everyone. Knew a kid raised like this. He is the loneliest and most depressed person I know. My guess is he struggles with self-worth and accomplishment. Probably because he hasn't had to work anything in his life. Knew a rich kid in college. Rumor has it, dude ended up owing hundreds of thousands of dollars to bookies for betting on NBA games. For that amount of money, the syndicates financing the bookies in my country go after you and your family to make sure you pay. Night before payday, dude went to his parents allegedly crying, telling them he had a problem. Parents were obviously concerned. Dude told them what happened and parents breathed a sigh of relief. They thought he got a chick pregnant. They gave him the money to pay the bookie. Relieved. My mum tells this story of being over at a family's house where their dad had once been my dad's boss. It was the early 90s and the wife was opening Christmas cards. As she opened one, a check fell onto the floor. She picked it up and said, John will be pleased, and put it on the fridge. It was for $20,000. This probably means that I am one of them, but I know exactly why the check was for $20,000. Back then you could gift someone $10,000 and you wouldn't have to report it and it would be out of the estate for both federal and state tax purposes. The reason it was $20,000 was because each of the parents were technically giving $10,000. My friend's parents have a lot of money and I went to a Halloween party that his family friends were having a couple years ago. I distinctively remember hearing the following two sentences, both travel-related. 1. We only have 5 trips booked next year, so we're going to try to sneak in a little visit to Egypt in April. 2. Yeah. We were just offered another expenses-paid trip to St. Lucia, but we turned it down. It just gets boring when you've been so many times. To the second one, I said I had to downgrade to 1-ply toilet paper this month. Can I have the trip? They all laughed at my quaintness. Having a nanny 100%. Taught at a dance school in a wealthier area. Not only did all the kids attend a private school, but their nannies would be the ones dropping them off. Being that I am not upper class, my first few weeks I was pretty confused as to why so many white children seemed to be adopted by Asians. Then when I finally met the parents of one of my students, I realized they were all Vietnamese nannies. My buddy's GF was a live-in nanny. The family took really good care of her. Large bonuses. She went to every vacation with the family with her own room and own spending money on vacation above her regular hourly rate. But she wanted a real job and was very surprised by how shitty real jobs pay. The whole idea kinda blows me away. Like the kids would get hurt or mad and run past their parents to her for support. Things like that. One time I was talking to a person I work with who I knew already to be wealthy. She let drop that she had a person she was paying to take care of her family's money, and that she was paying this person an amount which happened to be more than I make in a year. And I make kind of a good amount of money. I thought that was quite a flex. I taught swim lessons at a pretty expensive summer camp, where parents paid upwards of $200 per day for kids, and around $350 per day for tweens. Swimming, hiking, paddle boards, rock climbing, horses, etc. Nothing too special these kids couldn't find at another camp. Lots of celebrity kiddos though. I would charge $50 per hour to guard private pool parties because I didn't want to work weekends and didn't really like guarding as much as I loved teaching. But these parents didn't care. I once made $400 in an afternoon guarding a pool that nobody swam in and $100 tip because the dad felt sorry for wasting my time. $500 to eat catered Kogi Korean barbecue truck food and chat about cars for a few hours, no complaints. It felt like I was just on display for the parents to show that they could afford a guard. I miss it sometimes. I was dumb with the money and didn't save much. But enough for some tattoos. A flat screen. And to put 35% down on my first car. I'm not rich. Although I have a few nickels to rub together. I've hired guards for the pool for parties before. But that's because I once had to pull a 4-year-old from the bottom of the pool during a party. I saw the girl go under. And she sank like a rock. She was only under for 15 seconds or so before I pulled her out. But if I hadn't seen her go in, she would have been dead before anyone else would have noticed. After that I paid for lifeguards when there were kids in the pool and the parents were all drinking. I'll happily spend a couple $100 on a lifeguard so I can relax and enjoy myself while no one dies at my party. Having a family legacy. The upper class hasn't all that much to do with money. Plenty of upperclassmen are borderline broke. Living in old manors with leaky roofs they can't afford to repair. It's a matter of blood and history. Even the wealthiest of the people who lack noble blood and family legacy are typically considered upper middle class. Something that's stuck with me is the proverb, "You only truly own that which you can maintain." They're already upper middle class, instead of upper class, but fear the loss of face when they sell their legacy. This is actually rather true. In most cases the wealth is gone by the third generation. And most of the rich are new money. At least in the USA and now China. Even the Rockefellers have lost most of their fortune at this point. This seems like more of a European thing than an American one. Of course that's definitely on the table in America. But since there was no literally aristocracy here, there seems to be a bit more turnover. Maybe I'm wrong. Just my 2 cents. UK. I had a mate tell me a story about a rich girl at her uni who had never been in a Spoons or Primark. Always travelled down to London to get her hair done, which would cost £400. Her and her siblings all had a trust fund and didn't have to work. I don't know one person who's never been in a Wetherspoons. So I was more shocked to hear about that than the £400 expenses at the hairdressers. Edit. Wow, this is my most upvoted comment, so thanks. To my confused American cousins. Primark is a discount clothing store and Wetherspoons is a chain of pubs we have here. For anyone like me who wasn't sure, I looked it up and Wetherspoons is a pub while Primark is a department store, interestingly related with J.C. Penney's. I was guessing grocery store at first from context. But then with the hairdresser comment, I thought maybe one was a haircut, styling chain. And then I thought, damn British. Even their haircut chains sound classier than ours. Stupid supercuts. I went to a boarding school on full scholarship because I'm smart, my family is poor. A lot of my classmates were from filthy rich families. One kid kept getting in trouble and the school was going to kick him out. His parents show up and make a big fat donation to the school. And the school decided to let him stay. Some people's moms had actual names like Trixie and Pixie. Some people owned vacation homes in like the south of France or Spain. Parents would show up for a visit in a limousine and the driver had to stand motionless beside the car while waiting for them. My stepdad flexes a little. Drives a Lexus. Owns a boat. Has an expensive condo. Buys mum nice things. Wears a lot of Brooks Brothers. Has a beach house. Etc. I knew he was well off, but when he came to me and offered to help us buy a house by fronting the full cost of the new house until we were able to sell our current house. He also told me to never worry about my kids' college education and that the money is there for us if we need it. That told me that he has wealth. Not a billionaire. Maybe has a couple million in savings plus a couple million more in assets. Greater than he also told me to never worry about my kids' college education and that the money is there for us if we need it. You know what? All the other flexing aside, this bit is awfully nice. My eldest is going to be college age in 5 years and this is a particular worry of mine. Honestly, I don't know. I do security for upper-class neighborhoods and condos and it's the upper-middle-class people that absolutely do the crazy things for status. There was a guy who didn't have a barcode. So he came through the visitors lane every day. He had a messy car. Greasy hair. Wore holy t-shirts. He was the nicest guy. But he did seem out of place. One day he was upset people were talking shit about him and I let him vent and he appreciated that. He came in the next day so happy and was like, "Remember that bitch I was talking about yesterday? Well, I bought her business. Who's laughing now?" So he was, "I can buy your business out of pettiness rich." Which is what I aspire to be lol. I do a lot of cable and fiber optic work in an extremely affluent neighborhood in the FL Panhandle. Called Alice Beach. I'm talking gross success when it comes to these houses. But the look on their face when I call their multi-million-dollar villa a townhouse is priceless. When my girlfriend's best friend, they met before her parents got super well off, and was shocked when I said that I still had student loans. Her dad paid for it and she couldn't understand how I didn't have my dad just pay for it all. I have a colleague who recently said, "Well, people think I'm posh because I went to private school. Keep thoroughbred horses and my parents own land," in itself the definition of upper class. When asked, "How much land?" "Oh, I'm not sure. A few thousand acres. But I'm definitely not posh." Okay. I think the wording says a lot. Education is not something to be ashamed of. Ever. But denying your upper class when you keep thoroughbred horses, and I heard you on the phone to Mummy earlier discussing paying the stable hand while you go to Italy for the weekend. Well, posh can be used as a derogatory term implying snooty. It's about attitude and how you carry yourself. A lot of wealthy and upper-class people are still very down to earth. Also, they may have known some much wealthier people. When family wealth is in a trust and family members discuss work. But work just means going to meetings about their money. The family I know who does this has the trust purchase nearly every asset, houses, cars, house renos, and retains ownership and pays out $10,000 a month in allowances to each member. TLDR, if you structure your money like a corporation and consider managing that your job, you are wealthy. When throwing money at something is done because it's easier than literally anything else. An extremely wealthy friend bought a new £16,000 fridge because he thought his smelt bad. I checked and literally tried endlessly to explain it was some cheese that had been left in there too long. He wouldn't have it and by this point already had a new one ordered for the next day. Legit didn't care or entertain the thought that it might need just a light clean. Just threw it away. Blew my mind. In college there was this girl sort of in our friend group that came from a wealthy family. When discussing plans for the summer there were some people planning a trip together and she overheard someone say they wish they could go. But they couldn't afford it. Her response was, "I don't understand. Why don't you just have your parents pay for it?" She had always had her parents pay for everything and she genuinely thought it was the same for everyone.